y'all. Welcome back. Another episode with us.
Not
How are you
just
doing,
another
Candace?
episode 5. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Episode 5, you say?
Episode 5.
Mm,
Episode 5.
look at that. Ain't no turning back now.
No. We're going to keep on pushing. So how are you
Yes.
doing? You say you're doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Can't complain?
Can't complain.
Okay, that's good. So I take that as you've been taking care of yourself.
Now that needs a little work, but you know what? That's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yes, we are. We are going to discuss, is it okay to be selfish? And mainly,
Ooh.
when is it okay? But the first question, when or is it, I should say, okay to be selfish? Is it okay to be
Yes, with
selfish?
a capital Y-E-S. Yes, it is. It is a must. And I think when it comes to selfish, people look at it as a negative thing, like, oh, you selfish. I mean, in a sense, it has two contexts. There are selfish people, but the selfish we're talking about is just taking the time out to take care of yourself.
Right. Putting yourself first.
Exactly.
And I mean, we all know, I think what is pretty good is that, like, in today's time, we seem to be moving as a society more towards the idea of really working towards our mental health and, focusing on ourselves a lot more through different things. And I think the pressure is being, or not the pressure, but the knowledge is being put out there. The information, is being put out there. People are actually seeking the knowledge a little bit more about trying to remain healthy mentally. But I think it's a lot easier to be selfish, obviously, when it's just you, But I think some of those lines start to get a little blurred when, you go through the process of possibly getting married and having kids, or even if it's just a career that takes over, a lot of your focus. So I think that's when we have to, like, reassess our situation and say, hey, I need to focus on myself. And that is a time where that can be defined as basically, as being seen as being selfish, but it's not, in, like you said, in the negative sense of being selfish. It's just the idea of you taking that time to focus on yourself, to get yourself right, so you could be better to help others.
Yeah, because if you're not healthy and thriving, how can you tend to anybody else? How can you tend to the other needs, you have to fulfill? So.
Right. Because let's just be real. If you're not together, it's hard to give a part of yourself to something else. So if you're not getting proper rest, for instance, that can affect your mood, your attitude. So that then you have to question, well, how is that affecting your relationship with your kids? When you interact with them, or your spouse, or even your coworkers, whoever it is. If sleep is something that you're lacking, or something like that, because you're not focused on taking care of your body and stuff like that, then it's going to have its effects, basically. And then your focus may not be there, where you can miss certain things when it comes to your kids or whatever, because your focus it's harder to engage, I should say, stay engaged with them, because, like I said, I don't know how y'all are, but look, when I am sleepy, like I said, the focus is hard for me. So I'm like, so to sit there and really be engaged in something, like if your child is trying to tell you a story or something like that, your attention is probably not there like that. You're not able to be there like they need you.
It's like sleep is the key, like, factor when it comes to your mental, emotional state, your physical well-being overall. That, like, getting that adequate amount of sleep is important, because Lord knows when I'm sleep deprived, I'm irritable.
Yes.
Like, I get annoyed quick. Like,
Girl,
don't want to do anything.
It's
Like,
look,
I need my sleep. If
people
you want
talk.
me to be a better person, let me sleep.
Yes, people talk about, like, you know how when they get hungry, they get angry. That whole what's it called? Hangry
That
saying or what?
hangry?
No,
Yeah.
mine is sleep. Forget food. Forget the food. Mine is sleep. Like if I'm running off for 2 hours sleep, which actually I do pretty frequently, but if I was running off for 2 hours of sleep or whatever, girl, no, I don't. Let me get to my coffee. Something got it. Something got to give, right? So I had to. You got to change
Yes.
that and start focusing on yourself and just listening to your body and stuff like that. But kind of going back to the idea of, and like I said, and I don't know how it was for you personally, especially, being a younger mom, like taking on that role. But I know for me, like, man, when you go from just worrying about yourself and you know you move when you want to, you do what you want to, it's a lot different when when you start having people, these little people running around calling you mommy, because I think we get to a point of going back to the idea of the blurred lines. Your purpose kind of starts to tie into the idea of being a mother. So we kind of start to
Mhm.
almost shift our identity and our purpose towards taking care of our children, right? So it's so
You're
easy
absolutely
to
right.
get yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in putting yourself second to their needs, in a sense, because like literally, like once they come like that, they become the focus. They become the focus, and it's like, so you got to get to a point of realizing that a mother is just a part of who you are, but it's not all of who you are. And I think,
Say it
until
again.
okay, so a being a mother is just a part of who you are, and it's not all of who you are. So when you decide to take on that role, that doesn't mean that your desires, your hopes, your dreams, your career, everything all of a sudden comes to a screeching halt. It just means, okay, you got to pick another route sometimes. It's because for some people,
Right.
hey, they got it organized, they lay it out, they don't have to miss a beat when it comes to to starting their family and having their career. But for some of us, I mean, there was an adjustment process, for starting a family when it comes to also trying to build out your career, and also on top of it, for us personally being military spouses, and that's a whole adjustment on itself or whatever. But I think it's very important for us to try to keep a part of us slightly separated, so we know that we are still a whole person. And although our children, our family are such important aspects of, or so important to our lives, that we also got to understand that we're important too. So that's that idea of putting
Yeah.
yourself forward, taking care of yourself, and just trying to keep pushing yourself pretty much.
Yeah, like, not always remember that woman, that person you was before you had kids. Remember that person, that woman before you got married. Like, those dreams and goals that you had, like, they're still doable, sis. You can definitely do it. Like you said, you might have to take a different route, but it's still achievable. I think, like, as moms, as military spouses, like, we sacrifice so much, like
Mhm.
careers, when we have kids, moving. It's a lot. And then there's that guilt of when we take that time to want to be selfish, because in sense in society they deem us as like being superhuman, a super mom. Like, we can take on as many tasks, we're strong. And granted, we are,
Mhm.
but and that's a good compliment to have, but it does have its downfalls. You're going back to that guilt because, like, oh, if I take this hour to myself, or if I go out and get a mani and pedi or something, take some time away, people may see me as not a good mom. I'm putting myself
Mhm.
before anybody else, but you should. It's important that you put your needs that's going to help your up your upbeing, as far as emotional state, your mental state, your physical well-being, in order so that way you can in turn make sure that your kids are okay, make sure that your household is okay.
Right. And it's okay sometimes if you have to tap out. Like, you need to get to a point where you're aware of your moments, like, of, okay,
Mhm.
this is building. I need to take a second. I need to take a break. I know, um, for me personally, like I said, and it's personally or whatever, but it still, I guess, bothers me to say it out loud. But I know, not too long after, well, actually, it was, I think my daughter was probably about 6 or 7 months, I would say. But I remember I could feel like this change that was coming over me, and it was almost like in the sense of being like stress related, like or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety related, that a feeling that I was getting it, and it was like it would come kind of like in waves, and I for the longest I didn't know what was going on until I start honing in and kind of trying to pay attention to, well, when is it that I'm feeling these moments? Like
Mm-hmm.
when do I feel this coming on? And it wasn't until I like really shut down and start paying attention to myself that I realized it was when my daughter would cry, when she was like whining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, for the longest, it took me a while to say that. Just to even somebody like my mom, who I, share a lot with, because it was like almost like an embarrassing factor. Because I'm like, nobody wants to say, oh, yeah, well, now I don't care. But in the past, nobody wants to be like,
Right.
oh, yeah, my kids cause me stress all the time, because that's not how I viewed her, especially, as a young baby. And, there's so many joys that come along with having kids and stuff like that. So, but when I actually really got quiet and listened to my body and realized, like, hey, something is affecting you, and you got to figure out
Mm-hmm.
ways to cope. And that's when I kind of opened up more, and I started speaking to my mom. I had conversation with my mother-in-law as well. I had conversation with other mothers, and they're like, well, girl, well, what do you do for your me time? And I'm like, me
Mm-hmm.
time? What
Like
is
me
me
time.
time?
What's that?
What do you mean? Like, I mean, not to be like so whatever, but I mean, this is the point where, I mean, if I'm in the shower, she in the shower with me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm eating, she eating. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm nursing at the time. So it's like everything, everywhere I move, she, I'm basically, we're together. So there wasn't much me time. And so when I got to that point and realizing, like, hey, I'm no good to her if I'm not all in, if I'm not together. And so I
Yep.
had to make an effort to say, you know what? Okay, when my husband gets home, I'm gonna say, hey babe, I just need an hour, whatever it is, or if I need to go take a bubble bath, if I want to go shopping by myself, just to get out the house, just to get away, just to get that quiet time. Um, there was different things, whatever your thing is, whether it's just being able to go outside and read, like even if you just go in the room and shut the door, you know what I mean? But just to get
Yes.
that break, it's like it's very important to, to yourself. And I know for all our listeners, everybody isn't necessarily parents, but you can still do that. For, like I say, if your career is taking that much focus, you need to find moments to, whether it's like put your phone down and have your quiet time, have
Mm-hmm.
your moments where you're not so engaged in work, like you actually disconnect, just like they tell you to disconnect when it comes to social media. You could do the same when it comes to your job on particular days. Like if you just finished a massive project that was super stressful, take that time away, regather yourself, get yourself together, so you can almost like recharge.
Yes. Just going back to what you were saying, how you said that, you was ashamed or embarrassed to admit that, like, I I feel that exact I felt that exact same way with having Amira and Felix, because like once I had her, like my husband was in boot camp, so it was me with a brand new baby and a toddler by myself. And like I suffered postpartum. I suffered it with her, and I suffer it with Felix. And it when I tell y'all, like, you you don't want to admit it, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like, I remember one time Amira was crying like unconsolably, like, and I was new to breastfeeding her because with DJ, like, it didn't last long. I caught an infection and then I immediately stopped because
Mm.
still in school and stuff. With Amira, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a go again. But I wasn't producing enough milk, and then I was illiterate too. to the resources that were available, for breastfeeding. So I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I remember I was laying in the bed. She's in her crib crying. And I didn't even hear her knock at the door, but it was my stepmom, my second mom. She came to the house, and DJ, he was probably like, I want to say he was 2.5. He opened the door by himself. He climbed on the couch, opened the door. All I just remember her walking into the room and was like, take a shower, go put on some clothes, go to the store, like, go get some time away. And I was just like, and I felt so bad. Like, at that point, I felt like, oh my God, I'm a bad mom. And my mom just walked in on me, seeing me like this. It was so many emotions, just like, but then I realized, like, no, I needed that break. And it was okay to feel like
And she
that. Like,
recognized it.
and
She
I think,
recognized it.
yeah, she did. She did. Like, she was a teen parent herself. So she been through that, and she knew, like, go get yourself together. I remember when I came back, she was like, if you ever need some time, I'm only a phone call away. You pick up the phone, I'll come get the grandkids. You want me to come sit in the house even while you just sit in the room? Let me know, And I was just like, oh, okay, all right. And then, fast forward to 10 years later, having baby Felix. With him, the
10 years,
postpartum
girl.
was, girl, 10 years. Why y'all start over? I don't know. It's a blessing in disguise, okay? That was God's work. That was God's plan.
Right. Amen.
But I mean, it was just like, I guess because of my birth with him was just traumatic in itself. Like, my husband wasn't sure if me or him was walking out of the hospital, So just trying to relive that and get through that, and then starting breastfeeding again. And whoop whoop, side note, we still breastfeeding 19 months in. Let's get
it. Girl, blessings to you.
Girl, trust me, I want to stop, but he ain't ready, so. Oh boy, that little one. I mean, I remember his birthday. So our birthday is about 2 weeks apart, and I remember my 30th birthday had all these plans. Like, yes, it's my dirty 30. After I pop out this baby, I'm gonna be good. I'm about to go celebrate. Girl, I cried on my birthday, like literally nonstop. Like, I remember, like, the kids was like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And like, my husband like trying to console me, and he was like, "Just give Mommy her space." Like, it was so bad, and I immediately felt bad again. Like, I did not want my kids to see me crying like this. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm sad. I can't celebrate, and why am I feeling like this? Like, am I being selfish? But it's normal. It's normal. And I knew that I needed a break. Even just 2 weeks in, like, I needed a break, because that breastfeeding alone can drain you. Like, literally. And then you add on taking care of 2 more kids while your husband's at work and stuff. Like, I let it get the best of me. And I mean, I'm still going through a little postpartum here and there, but I'm making it. I'm making it, sis. I'm making it. Yes. I found ways to help with that, And I think, like, as women, I think it's great and it's important that we have, like, we seek out our own village, our own support group, our own little tribe, whatever you want to call it, those meaningful friendships with people that's either been in your shoes or walking that same road as you, because I think, like, when we uplift each other and cheer each other on, we shine brighter together as a whole and as individually. And I mean, after all, what's this podcast called?
Shine
Sis. Okay? So we named this podcast Shine Sis for nothing. So yeah.
Sure did. Yes. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just like you said, going back to the whole conversation about the village you were discussing. Like, I'm definitely grateful for mine. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, just being able to have people, to reach out to this to talk about different things, and not only that, but also for them to guide me before some of the things took place, and then like I said, just having the help
Mhm.
um of like family members who are just like, I'm blessed to be in a situation where we got parents who, want to see their grandkids. Because I realize that some grandparents are like, no, 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 I'm enjoying my life now. Don't bring them kids over here. But but I'm very appreciative that I have parents and grandparents who be wanting to see them. So that eases it, sometimes as well. But yeah, girl,
Yes.
it's definitely a process of trying to get comfortable enough to say some of the things, because it's so easy to put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, at least at the very least appear to be perfect. And let me tell you something.
Mhm.
When you get to a point of realizing and acknowledging that by the definition of perfect, we aren't perfect, it is so liberating. There's so much freedom in
Mhm.
getting to a point of saying, you know what? Maybe I ain't that great of a cook. Cool. So I ain't gotta be cooking. I ain't gotta be cooking there on the holidays then. You know what I'm saying? But when you sit there
Okay.
like, yeah, when you sit there like, nope, nope, I'm a great cook. Like, you put that added pressure on yourself to be something that you're not, something that you're not
Yes.
passionate about, or whatever the case is. You put that added pressure on yourself instead of saying it's, I mean, and let me be clear, it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is a weakness of mine, let me work towards it. That's fine. But when you put the pressure on yourself of thinking that, hey, I have to be perfect at this, it opens the door, I feel like, for more anxiety and more stress and everything to play in, because you don't allow
Mhm.
yourself to kind of like have those breaks or those slip ups or whatever the case is. You don't basically, and I want to kind of be clear about what I'm saying, because um I don't want to make it sound like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to be better or do certain things better. I just don't want you walking around thinking that you have to be the perfect mom, or whether it's the perfect
Right.
spouse, or whether it's the perfect work, or whatever it is, the perfect person 100% of the time. Because if you put that pressure on yourself, you're not giving yourself time to recharge and rewind, which means you're not going to be able to be at that level all the time. So it's like, at some point you got to realize, hey,
Mhm.
it may be some things that I have to pull back on just to keep myself afloat, you know, and give yourself, like I said, the extra time. But I promise y'all, when y'all start learning your true identity, like we talked about earlier in our
Okay.
podcast, I'm like, you start getting to a point of feeling more comfortable about who you are and what you are and what you have to offer. Remember this, especially for my moms out there, the young moms. Your children are of you. If you're a decent person, guess who's going to know how to take care of them kids the best? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and obviously you
Mhm.
have exceptions to the rule, because you got certain people who just aren't trying to be parents, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm talking about people who are happy to have kids, they want to have kids, they want to raise kids. Think about how much of your personality your child is going to have of yours. And there's going to be so many similar traits that when it comes to feeding into them, when it comes to knowing what type of disciplines, what type of discipline you need to take when it comes to them, or whatever, or what affects them in certain ways, you're around them, you're gonna know them. You know what I mean? So like, you don't
Yep.
have to stress yourself out and worrying about if you're doing the best, when you know what I'm saying, you're putting that effort in there, like I said, and taking your time to yourself to recharge, so you can be who you want to be to them. But if you just keep pressuring yourself to be that person and you're not allowing yourself to recharge, then believe me, you're, even if you think you're being great for them, you're not, because at some point you're going to break down, and it may not be in front of them, it may not be towards them, but it could be in another part of your life, because of just all the energy that you're exerting during that process.
Yes.
So yeah, so like, going back to what we were kind of discussing before, I mean, for you, what did like taking a moment look like for you, or what does it look like now for you? Like, what type of things do you do to try to you know get your alone time, or or recharge yourself?
Well, um my husband's deployed, so I gotta like be creative with my alone time. But always, every time he goes away, I get focused on like my eating habits, making that lifestyle change, working out, just that little time away helps. Girl, sometimes I'm sitting in the bathroom, even if it's for 10, 20 minutes, just sitting in the bathroom, just hiding out because I just need that time to just breathe.
Mm-hmm. Y'all,
So,
that's
and I
real
mean,
too. So don't think that is not no joke. Okay. Mama's
it,
hiding in the
it is it
bathroom
is
is a
real,
real
okay?
thing.
It is real. Like, I mean, I even have the kids, like, they'll take the little one. I'll be like, look, y'all just go take your brother, take him to the park or take him, walk him around the block. Mommy just need a second. And I'm grateful and I'm blessed and thankful that I have two older ones that can help out and they
Hmm.
understand, like, when mommy needs some time to herself, mommy needs some time to herself because it won't be pretty if I don't got that time to myself.
Right,
I'm
right.
keeping it real, y'all. Like, I've had times where I have like literally exploded and I had to go back and apologize to my kids because
Mhm.
again, like, it shouldn't take that much I shouldn't get to that level.
Right.
Like, you feel it coming on, I need to take a step back. I need to,
Mhm.
even if it's just breathing, counting to 10. Girl, it's the little stuff.
No, you're absolutely right. And actually, y'all, me and Mary had did a Bible path a few weeks ago on that. You do remember what it was called? It was like uh
Wasn't like not yelling or something?
yeah, something like that. Mommy not don't yell or mommy something like that. So we were actually working on it, y'all. We were working on it.
We
So
were.
and I think we were doing pretty well. I think yeah, but yeah, I'll leave that one alone. But
It
go
definitely has
go.
helped though. I'm gonna say I haven't, me personally, I haven't yelled at them in a while, and I'm like getting better at just like speaking in a calm tone, even when I'm upset,
Right.
because I've noticed now, especially with my husband being gone, that's already an emotional feeling for them, for all
Yeah,
of us.
yeah.
So instead of me lashing out or getting upset at the little things, I just calmly talk to them and explain, yeah, I'm upset. But listen, let's try this. Or don't do this, like, come on, we gotta make it easy on each other because we gotta lean on each other right now.
Right. Right. And see, and that's good because I ain't gonna lie to you. I actually hate yelling because when I yell, I can feel it. Like I can, it's not like how some people just made to yell. They just like I imagine everybody grandmama like that. Everybody grandmama yell. I don't know, but like when it comes to me, if I'm getting to that point that I literally will physically feel it, and I'm like I don't like
Hmm.
getting to that point. I really just and I understand kids certain ages you may have to talk to them more times than others, but I'm with you on the hey listen. I'm gonna tell you how I feel. Y'all don't want me yelling. I don't want to be yelling. Let's help each other out because that's another thing. If I start fussing and getting riled up like that, now I do need to go definitely take a break. Instead of just being able to continue on
Hmm.
because it's like, nope, this is not working out. So I I completely understand that. But I was like going back to the taking a moment and stuff like that. I know early on mine was like bubble baths. Like that was my thing. I would be like, okay,
Mm.
all right, babe, you home? Okay, here goes the baby. I'm getting in the tub, put my candles on. I had my little,
Yes.
like between the candles, the lights off, my music playing. I play like some meditation music and stuff like that and just sit there. Literally just sit there. And I feel so much better coming out of that. Also, like you mentioned, exercise would do it for me too. Like honestly, because I think feeding into yourself that way can help out in many ways. It's not just the
Hmm.
helping with the stress that you may feel, the tension you may feel, but then just also feeling better about yourself because you achieved something in that moment in terms of working out. And if there's a
Yep.
and if there's an even further effect than that in terms of if you're trying to lose weight or if you're maintaining whatever it is, that workout can help in regards to that. So then you feel accomplished, even further accomplished in that, and you just start to feel better about yourself, which is going to trickle down in other areas, because you're going, you know what I'm saying, just kind of remain positive, because you just feel better, you feel good. I think that's really cool too when you
Yeah.
mentioned the changing of the of your food habits and stuff like that. Um, that's another thing, focusing on yourself. Like you're taking the opportunities that you have to become to make your life more specific about you, which goes back to the putting yourself first. But and it's not in that way, it's not limiting others too much as well. Like you're still a good mom, you're still taking care of your kids, but
Right.
guess what? You eating good, you working out, you get, like you said, you reading your Bible, you getting your alone time. Like you're balancing yourself out
Yes.
really good. And I'm pretty sure if I was to ask your kids about how they feel about you and your accomplishments as a mom, I'm pretty sure they would say some good, especially that daughter of yours. I'm pretty sure she
They
would have
better.
a lot to say. Um, about how, I'm pretty sure they would have a lot to say about how much they appreciate everything you do for them, and how
They
great of a
better.
mom you are. So it's like yeah, y'all. I'm telling y'all, when you start realizing, man, if you're good to your kids, they gonna love you. I mean, we're not perfect
Yes.
parents. We don't do everything right, but I promise you, if y'all start realizing and just acknowledging, like I said, that hey, you know what, I can't be great, or not to say great, but I can't be. I'm not going to be doing everything right when it comes to parenting, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to my career, whatever it is. I'm not going to be perfect and make every great decision and not have any faults, any issue, whatever the case is. So
Right.
I just need to be prepared for that and just, accept that so I can basically loosen up a little bit. Because like I said, it's too much pressure to be perfect. Um and
It
you'll
is.
you'll cause
And
a lot of
and
stress for yourself.
nobody's perfect.
Right. Right. So
Right.
no, agreed.
And just
But
continue, like, even if you just gotta keep reminding yourself, like, nobody's perfect. We all have imperfections. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. We're gonna continue to make mistakes along the way. Like, stop adding unnecessary pressure onto your plate.
right, exactly. Also, we also want to focus on the fact of making sure that you guys remember, like, if you are suffering, do not be afraid to ask for help. I mean, and I
Please
mean,
don't, y'all. Please don't.
yeah, and I mean whether it's from friends, family, shoot, if it's to that point, neighbors, coworkers, whoever. I mean, there's help that there's phone numbers, there's websites, there's so many avenues of trying to get further educated on this, and also just receiving any type of help and resources that can benefit you, um because so many women deal with it. And I think women are getting to a point where we're becoming more comfortable, or I should say more women are speaking out about some of the stresses and different things that they deal with after having children. um
Mm-hmm.
but even just across the board, like I mean, I feel like almost everybody has anxiety. Like I could be wrong, but the way it's talked about, I feel like everybody can point to a moment where they're like, yeah, that was definitely a very anxious moment for me. So I mean, don't it's no shame involved. At the end of the day,
It's normal. It's common. Like, it is great that you ask for help, because
exactly.
sometimes, like, putting on a mask. Going back to the whole putting on a mask, like, you go smiling, looking, appearing normal, that everything's okay, but then you go home and it's not okay. I lost a dear friend, fellow military spouse. Like, she was my sister friend. Like, our kids played
Mhm.
sports together. I met her out here at our first when we first got stationed out here in Hawaii. Like, we literally kept in contact when they left. We FaceTime, like, on the whole Marco Polo and everything. And she committed suicide. And till this day, like, it still hurts at me. It gets at me because I literally had talked to her the day before. But what I failed to do was ask her how was she doing. Like, every time we talked, I always be like, "Hey, girl, how you doing?" And then she will open up to me. But this one time, because I felt like I was so busy, I was doing other stuff. When she texted me, I didn't. I didn't ask her how was she doing, and then I held that guilt on for me for a while. Kind of still do. I feel guilty that I didn't know, even though it's not. I know it was not my fault or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but it still weighs on me because I'm like, man, had I just asked her how she was doing, maybe I could have sensed, or maybe I could have helped get her some help that she needed. We confided in each other
Right.
on so many levels, and when I found out, I was just like sick to my stomach. So yes, y'all, ask for help. It is okay. Even if people are not asking you how you doing, don't be afraid to be like, look, I'm not okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Right. And beyond, yeah, and that's heavy. That's heavy. But no, you were absolutely
Yeah.
right. Like, um, yeah, I'm sorry. I
No, you good, girl.
I I think it's also, if you are somebody who knows, of a mother, um, who just had a child, or or it don't have to be just had, but if you know of a mom who has kids and they may seem like they have their moments, just, hey, I mean, I don't know if you would be willing to, watch the kid or anything like that, but just reach out sometimes and see if, or if they just want to do something with you to get them out, to get them out the house or whatever. Because sometimes part of it is just not having that opportunity, um, to go out, especially with spouses. If you're constantly moving around and you just had a kid, you may
Mm-hmm.
not know anybody. You know what I mean? So it could be in a situation where you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind going here or going there, but I don't. You may not have that relationship to feel comfortable going out with somebody else. But um, so if you know somebody, just reach out and just help in any way you can. I guess to see if it's anything they need or could use. Because a lot of times, like I said, they won't just offer up the fact that they need, that type of help. Because going back to what you were saying before, which is, we never want to feel like we can't handle it as moms, but especially because what do you always
Right.
hear when you first, and I know this is actually talking about being selfish in general, not just the moms, but since we're on this point, I do just want to say this. When you go to have, your first kid and you're nervous and all this, and people say, oh, don't worry, your instincts to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yep.
what
It's natural
you're made to.
instincts.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you were made to take care of this baby. Like, so you already come in with this pressure of thinking, I'm supposed to be able to handle this. I'm supposed to be able to
Yep.
know exactly what to do because of how everything works. I should not need anybody else. So you put that own pressure,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, back on yourself, and just think that you have to do it all alone. Um, and I mean, and even like I said, even both, I mean, both of us have husbands who, were helpful, but there are other circumstances that can cause, you know, uh, issues in terms of their schedules, deployments, um, where you may be doing it on your own. So, it's not just, so sometimes it goes beyond just your spouse, because if your spouse is not in a position to be there, that creates its own problems as well. But yeah, I just think sometimes you got to just try to relieve yourself of that pressure, especially early on, so you can kind of like learn what your process is going to be. So, like I said, if you're a runner, be a
Yeah.
runner before you have a baby, be a runner while you have a baby, if the doctor says it's okay, and then be a runner, you know, um,
After.
after. So, I said
Yes.
while you have a baby, I meant while you're pregnant, y'all. That's what I meant.
While you have a baby, just be running,
Exactly.
girl. Push that baby while you run. Hey,
Exactly.
I
No.
played basketball.
Yeah, yeah, she did, y'all. Shoot.
You
Yeah,
can do it, sis.
I seen that one lady who out there weightlifting and putting all
Ooh,
them big old weights over her head. But I guess she's a professional
girl.
weightlifter, so it was no big deal. But I'm like, girl. Anyways, I know we just went all off tangent or whatever. But the point
I
is,
know,
y'all,
right?
ask for help. You can be selfish. It is okay to take time for yourself. And actually, we may need to do a
Yes.
series on this, because I think we focus more on the idea of selfish in terms of mental health, but there's also a different aspect of that, which is it okay to be selfish when it comes to, like, as mothers and spouses? A lot of times we've had to, what, we got to follow our husbands around when they get stationed somewhere else, but
Mm,
but this is not for this episode, but eventually we need to do an episode where we're talking about that type of level of selfish of, you know, is it wrong to say, hey, you know what? I have a good career here. I'm going to stay with the kids.
ooh, yes.
While you go do your
That's a good
years.
topic.
I mean, there's different ways that people can talk about being selfish. Like, is that okay for a family? When is it okay? How does that work? But like I said, for now, this time we just focused on in terms of mental health, self-care type stuff. You got to make sure you get the help you need. You get your time and do that so you can be right to help others, and be there for others.
Yeah. What's that saying? Check on your strong friends, y'all. Check on your strong friends,
Right.
because they may appear strong on the outside, and they are strong, but everybody got a breaking point.
Yeah. It just what you say and what you just said, it just made me reflect on that of when you think about, like you said, your strong friends, um because you never know if they're the type to never really open up and share. You never know what they could be going through at that time, so just every once in a while it's just good to say,
Right.
hey, you good, everything all right?
Right.
I haven't asked you lately, so there's definitely nothing wrong with asking, because sometimes you never know what you get. Sometimes, like I said, I have friends that ask me now, and I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm fine. Same old, same thing I'm fussing about, whatever the case is. But, sometimes that could be a different answer. So you just never know. You got to keep checking in.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. And I will say this to kind of wrap it all together. Um, you know, Going back to the idea of being selfish and taking your time, um, to, like I said, more for the mental health and getting yourself in order, but also taking that time to focus on something that's important to you, that you're passionate about. Sometimes you have to find a way, going back to the idea of recognizing that being a mom or being a wife is a part of you, but it's not all of who you are. So those other
Mm-hmm.
parts need to be fed. So you have to figure out ways to create that time, create that space for you to still be that person, or for you to still keep pushing. And so one of the people I always think about when in discussing these type of conversations is Toni Morrison, who I imagine that most people know her. She's an author who, I think she actually passed away, I
Yes.
think, in 2019. But so I know I had read her book The Bluest Eye, but she also was known for writing Beloved and many other famous novels. And she was the first African American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. So she accomplished a lot over her lifespan. But one of the things that was always unique to me was the fact that she was working full time and she was a single mother. And one of the things that she, I guess, always would put out there was the idea of her um, working towards her goals and her passions on borrowed time. And by that, what she
Mm.
meant was the idea of, okay, I gotta have the kids up at 8. Okay, well, I'm waking up at 6 because I gotta write this novel. And after doing that, finding that extra time for herself and putting that effort into it, it paid off. I mean, like, look at where her career ended. Look at where the many things that she
Yes.
accomplished over her lifespan. But it's like taking those moments back, trying to figure out where can I squeeze out my time. But making sure that you are squeezing out your time, that you are putting yourself first, that you are making it a priority to say, hey, like, if you are like her and you want to write books, you got to find time to write. It just is what it is. The words are not just going to be magically, or they're not just going to magically appear on the page. Okay, you know what? Every night at this time, I'm writing for an hour, whatever the case is. You got to just take those steps and like I said, and find the time. Put yourself first. What you want to do, you got to make time for yourself.
Yes. I like that whole phrase of borrowed time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. So It's all about, what was that episode where we were talking about, like, holding yourself accountable for each hour of the day?
Oh yeah, yes, yes, yes. Add that
That
in
ties
there.
into, yep.
Right. Because you can, like I said, you can find time. You, if you really want to, you can find the time to do something that you really want to do, to um push toward it. And then sometimes you got to ask yourself, wait, am I really passionate about this? Is this really what I'm meant to do? Is this what I was created to do? Or is this just me looking at somebody who did those things and they got some of the things that I want? So it's not necessarily the process that I want to be a part of. I just want the end result. Because if you just want the end result, don't waste your time, because it's the process that you have to fall in love with. So if your mindset
Yes.
is no, 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 I want to be a writer because I love the idea of picking up a piece of paper and creating story. Okay, feed that passion. But if
You
you're
got to
like,
put in
oh,
that work.
right, right. But if you're like, oh, no, 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 I don't really want to do the work, but I seen how much so and so got paid from writing this book, and I'm pushing for that. That's really what I want to get. Then it's not worth the time. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So follow your passion.
Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and leave y'all with our affirmation. And as y'all say this, go ahead and start thinking about ways how you're going to use some borrowed time in your day to take care of yourself.
Right. And to grow your passions.
All right.
I am enough.
I have the power to create the life that I desire.
I am worthy of my dreams.
I am worthy of my dreams.
Hey, go and get them dreams, girl. Get them dreams.
Yes. And remember, shine, sis. You got this.
You got this, girl.